plays everyone's favorite pill-popping Manhattan housewife on Netflix's Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. You sound shocked by that. You didn't know that?
I know it, but just hearing it aloud sometimes takes me back.
Yes, and it's a role that has earned you your 5th Emmy nomination. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. That was a crazy, crazy surprise.
Crazy morning.
Crazy morning.
With more sleep.
Yes, it was such a unexpected joy, obviously. And we were so thrilled that the show got 7 nominations. And it's this, I have to say, the whole plight of Kimmy has just sort of flowed in the way it feels like it's meant to go, and everything is just sort of fallen in the right place. And I know that we're all just so thankful for that. And 30 Rock was like sort of the little engine that could, and it just sort of chugged its way along, and then more and more people found it, and then it was getting sort of notices in the way that it did, and hardware that helped. But this little show sort of found its way to be made by NBC, and then to Netflix, and then for people to get it, because it was a sort of very different tone of comedy and a very dark premise for such a light comedy, and people seemed to get that, and then this lovely reception from the Academy and Emmy voters, so it's so nice.
Well, and I talked to Titus a few weeks ago, and he said he celebrated by going to his backyard, making a sandwich.
Yeah.
And he just had a glass of wine and sat with his dog. And I was like, that's so like un-Titus of the show. He thinks Titus would have done something totally different. How did you celebrate?
Well, I happened to be on vacation at the time, and only myself and my 4-year-old son were home. And so
he could care less.
Exactly. So I hung up the phone. First of all, I thought I was being punked, because like 5 people were calling on the other line, and I honestly thought they were calling to say, congratulations, the show got a nod, because I did see that one on the webpage. And so I was like, isn't that great? And they're like, no, no, you. And I was like, guys, stop it. And they were screaming and yelling, and then so I hung up the phone, and I went to my son, and I said, his name is Bennett, and I said, Bennett, this is a great day. Mommy just got nominated for an Emmy. And he looked at me completely blank and went, that's great, Mommy. Can we go play now? And so that's what we did.
Keeping you grounded.
I was like, E-M-M-Y.
Well, and you talked about the sort of journey the show has taken, but you almost weren't, I mean, you were on another pilot for Fox that ultimately didn't get picked up.
Yes.
But you being on Kimmy sort of came at the 11th hour. Talk a little bit about it.
It did. I think what was unusual about it was sort of how quickly I got the job, took the job, and then filmed the show. Yes, I had unfortunately gotten that dreaded call from the folks at Fox and the individual producer and creator of a different pilot that didn't get picked up. And like a half an hour later, I got an email from Tina saying, hey, would you like to come over and be on my show? And I literally just wrote back, yes, exclamation point, send.
Wait, do you think that Tina had a role in making this other pilot not go so she could cast you?
You know, it's odd, because you're the second person who's asked me this question, which makes me think Tina, first of all, I think Tina has some odd, she's so in touch with the zeitgeist, so it makes me a little nervous, because I don't think so, but
she
sometimes I question it.
She probably has like a setup at home when knowing who's available, because how did she call you 30 minutes later?
I think she did. It did come up on some Google alert or something that that show did not get picked up, but it was wonderful. I didn't know what I was signing on for. I mean, I knew it was Tina's show. I didn't know anything about the character. No, she just said, I have a really good part for you, a great juicy role. Do you want to come on? And I was like, yes. And so I said yes. And the next day she said, well, do you want to come in and hear what kind of part I've written for you? I was like, oh, that probably would be good. Yeah. Okay, let's go find out what that is. And I didn't know that much about the show, actually, even. I knew the premise, but I hadn't seen any of it or any of that.
What did you think of the premise? Because like you sort of mentioned earlier, it's a very quirky, unusual, sort of seemingly dark way to enter a comedy.
Yes.
With Kimmy coming out of a bunker and sort of being trapped there for a long time.
I think I probably felt the same way that whenever I explained the premise to people before it aired, people would look at me kind of like, I don't understand. And then you'd say, well, it's you know, Tina Fey and Robert Carl, and then they get a little bit more of an understanding or maybe recognition. I have such trust in them creatively that I knew whatever concept was the kickoff point, it would be smart and clever and funny, and so if they ask, I'll go wherever they want to take me. And I feel so lucky. I don't know what happened. I don't know what good luck bestowed on me all these years ago when I went to Broadway Video to meet with Tina and Robert on 30 Rock for Jenna. And I had a very quick meeting, and I've just realized that we're about to enter our 9th season of television together.
That's crazy.
And it's been joy and a learning process and fun and laughter and challenging and all of those things that you want. And I just can't believe that it's sort of lasted this long. And that I read some of these episodes and I'm like, wow, they think I could do this. Like, okay, let's try. I'll try. I'll jump off and do whatever you think I could pull off. So.
I know, I was asking Titus, like, what are those table reads like? Because, like, some of the stuff that you and he says are just so outrageous, but you just go through them so fast, and I'm like, wait a minute, did you just say that? It's, like, really...
Exactly, and the table reads are one of my great joys. Not only on Kimmy, but they were on 30 Rock too, because we don't get the scripts until we actually sit down, so there's no prep, or you don't know what's going to happen, and you literally turn the page and be reading it and have the realization of what is happening to your character and the humor of in real time. And so it lives on this higher sort of inside-out plane that I absolutely love. And you'll be laughing through the line going, I cannot believe I'm saying this.
Well, and what did Tina and Robert sort of set up for you as to what Jacqueline, or who Jacqueline was, and what they wanted to see out of her?
Right. Initially, they just described that she was sort of the intro that you did here, and that she was obviously someone who had built her own gilded cage. And to be honest with you, like when I read episode 1, and she was holding the little dog in her townhouse on the Upper East Side, and when she takes the bottle of water out and Kimmy says no and she throws it out immediately, I was like, oh, okay, I get it. Like, I know her, and this is awesome, and I love it. And then I felt as the season went on, she was sort of like a raw onion, and every episode they just kept peeling back these superficial layers to get to a much more grounded character, and to a far more vulnerable character than I ever thought she would be, say, from what was initially described to me, which I love, and I cherish those moments because I think it also defines her very differently from Jenna on 30 Rock.
Did you sort of take any, like, inspiration, like, is the obvious to model her after the Housewives, or how do you sort of, what is your framework for her?
Certainly, I am a big fan of all of those shows. It's my number one guilty pleasure. So I am influenced by every delicious city that they present to us of those women.
Just a little bit of Sonia Morgan.
Oh gosh, I don't want to know. There's just a little bit of all of them.
Yes,
all,
she
but
is.
I don't actually want to break it down sort of that. I don't want to know. People always ask me, like, why does Tina always ask you to play these self-absorbed, deluded people? There are some questions I just do not want to know the answers to.
You do it really well.
I will be there, but I do not know why you think I would be appropriate for this. Yes. I do find great humor in those people and sort of sending that entity up. But yeah, so I thought, like, I knew her, and then I loved how they made her. I have actually great sympathy for Jacqueline, especially as we learned how hard, I mean, to be a person who worked so hard to change who she was, as we learned, how far away from the A to Z journey that she took and that they wrote for her, is a really complicated person to me. And I love that she found some sort of, I've got to go home and find my real truth. As I say, I've read episodes 1 and 2, so I know where we pick up. And so it is very interesting to see how, what the transformation and sort of the old characteristics that we still enjoy to watch are there.
Does she have her contacts back in?
Am I allowed to reveal this stuff? I don't know.
Can she see again? She's not crashing into stuff.
I can't entirely answer that question. But it was, we did that last scene, and that was actually the last scene we filmed of season one, which was great because it was the last scene and everybody was in it, so we all got to be together, and I love those scenes and those moments. And we truly, I know this is a cliche, but we were losing the light. We truly were losing the light. The sun was going down, and we had to get it. And Tina was like, I think we did have the contacts, and she was like, I just think we're not going to be able to get it, and we're going to, we'll get it, we'll do it with Photoshop later. It's not Photoshop, it's a much more expensive, fancy process.
I'm sure it is,
So I was like, oh, but we've got them. And so we did one take with them, and we got it in, and they did use it, which I was thrilled to say. And then as we were walking back to our trailers, and we're all like so excited that we finished, and it was such a great season and a great experience of making it, even before it came out. And Tina goes, wait a minute, we might be locked into these now for season 2. Are you comfortable with wearing these contacts? I was like, oh, we didn't think it through.
Alarming.
It was. Yes. I loved it. I loved the shock value, actually. And that whole storyline, I don't even think they had in their minds when we started the character. It was sort of, how can we give this character an A to Z journey, and sort of, once again, live in this unexpected world of what they write.
Well, yeah, it was truly unexpected. I mean, were you sort of surprised by what her backstory was going to be? And some people took issue with the Native American sort of backstory that they gave her, but what did you think of it? What did they sort of tell you was the reasoning or what they wanted to accomplish with it?
Right. Well, of course, the first time I'd known of it was live in a table read. As we're reading, I was like, I'm looking, I'm like, oh my God. What? And but secretly also thrilled because it said we go back to Jane at Jane. We go back to Jackie Lynn, which I thought was a genius reinterpretation of Jacqueline.
The sweaters were amazing.
Costumes knocked it out of the park. Jackie Lynn at 14, and then in parentheses it said played by Jane, and I was like, yes. I mean, honestly, where else?
Yes, where else?
Sorry, everybody, and I especially apologize to my agents. 46-year-old Jane Krakowski could be playing Jane Krakowski at 14. And this is the great joy I have working with Tina and Robert, because they write stuff for me and everyone else a part of the programs that they write. It was never lost on us through 30 Rock and on Kimmy that you will never get to play this stuff anywhere else, because they create such their own reality and their own sort of farcical land that we live amongst. And you have that freedom to go so far because they've made their own rules and in their own reality of these characters, of whether, certainly with Jenna, her own delusion or lack of knowledge of anything that's really happening in the world, which was a great joy to play for all of those years, because you could do and say almost anything with the excuse that she just doesn't know. She doesn't know better. So that was a great joy, and those were some of my favorite scenes that we got to film, not only because of the delicious sweaters. I do think was there a unicorn? It was a horse.
There was a horse.
It was like a chess horse. Yes,
yeah.
It's one of the good ones. And then when they showed me, they were like, we want to do your hair like how it was in Vacation. I was like, all right, guys, let's like.
Only you and Shakira can pull off those roots. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
But it was also wonderful. I think the story actually, and this was something that was, for this particular storyline, helpful, I think, to be on a streaming program of Netflix, where all 13 episodes were presented at once, and people could watch them at their own time and joy by Netflix. And but that there was, you saw where she grew to. So if you only saw maybe the first episode and you had to wait, I think it would be even more alarming and offensive. So but I think where you saw that the truth of the story and how she so appreciated ultimately what she was trying to run away from, and the lovely performances by Sherry Foster and Gil Birmingham, and they are coming back this season too, which is so fantastic.
Are people hearing it here first?
I
don't know if you said it at TCA. I can't remember.
My phone will be buzzing from Tina going, hey, ixnay. But yeah, so I did actually really, I really enjoyed that storyline. And when we first read it, I didn't know how it would be taken, to be honest with you. I was like, I haven't seen this. And I've never obviously been asked to do this before, but I didn't know how it would be received. And there have been, and that's where I do think that the 13 episodes have helped where people could see I think, a sincere, sort of more beautiful story to the entire, to the A to Z journey that they wanted to give her.
Speaking more on it being on Netflix, I mean, yesterday was NBC's day at TCA, and people were asking Bob Greenblatt, who's the chairman of entertainment at NBC, do you have any regrets passing over?
Say that? They asked that.
Because here's this show that now has all these Emmy nominations, and he's like, obviously we're Emmy whores. We would have loved to have had that. And he used those words. I didn't put those in his mouth. But he's like, ultimately, I do think it wouldn't have it found success because it was on Netflix. I don't know if it would have worked on NBC, and I don't know if it would have worked. Do you think it would have?
There were certainly times where I questioned it. There was like jokes sometimes that I would read. One of my favorite jokes from early on, I think it was episode 2 or 3, where Kimmy says, I'm worried about your dog Abattoir. He hasn't gone to the bathroom in a few days, and I say, oh, don't worry about that. They bred that out years ago. Someone's anus is purely decorative. And when I read that one, I said, can this air on NBC? And those moments now, once we did ultimately go to Netflix, sort of now they stand out to me even further, because I was like, oh, I love this line, and I hope it stays, but I was like, all right, you might lose that one for broadcast, for network television. And so when we were expecting a call the week that we did get the call about the move to Netflix. We were expecting a call to find out when we were going to, our air date on NBC. Yeah. And so when Tina called everybody, and she goes, well, I've got great news. And I was like, oh, great. Like, what's our time slot? What do we, I can't wait for people to see it. And it was, oh, we're actually going to Netflix. And it was funny because it was like, I was like, wow, really? And then like within a second, it was like, oh yeah. It just seemed like the right place for us. And I know we're all so fortunate to get to go there, because I do think that's where we belonged. And it almost was a bit of a perfect storm, in my personal opinion, because that was such a big story. And then the show came out like right after that, so people were curious, and then they liked it. And so I think it all just built up. And so I think Bob is actually, I don't know if it would have had the same, if as many people would have watched it with the same awareness of it even coming out without all of those steps.
Exactly.
And I think it just sort of lined up perfectly.
Well, and then, like you said, it comes out in March, and I think I watched it in one weekend. And then it's like, and then seriously, cannot get the theme out of my head. Like, I don't want us to sing it right now.
How come? Now that you've even just said it, it's stuck.
It's like it just never leaves. And then Pinot Noir, obviously, never leaves. But then, was it a weird adjustment, sort of getting used to, oh wait, it's all out now, and what do I do like 2 weeks later? How do I keep people talking about it? How do I talk about it? Because I don't know how much I can say. I don't know where people are with it. How did you navigate that?
Yeah, well, that was a big thing, and it did feel so entirely different to be on a streaming platform. And obviously, you know, they know how to do it masterfully, Netflix, and so they have all of their tools for that, of keeping it, keeping going after the release date, because that's exactly what I thought. I thought, well, do you feel it like a Broadway opening for one night, and then you're sort of just in the run, and we just wait? I didn't know what it would. I didn't know what streaming would feel like.
What does streaming feel like now, Jane?
It felt good. Streaming feels. I'm streaming.
Stream me.
I'm streaming right now. Excuse me. But I didn't know, and it truly did feel. I sound like an actor now. I told you I was going to bring out that actor voice today. But when I was back in Broadway, when I did Broadway and I was on the boards, it was a bit like it was a bit like an opening night, the night that it did, you know, was available for my streaming sounds so naughty now. It's another one of my favorite lines, but she goes, I've Googled you, Kimmy Schmidt. She goes, really? I didn't feel it. Brilliantly, skillfully performed by the great Ellie Kemper.
That's amazing.
Really? I still laugh. I laughed every time standing next to Ellie Kemper saying it, and I still laugh every time it's a clip on something or I hear it. But to me, that was the closest thing I could equate it to was, you know, you work on something, you're all excited to present it to everybody, and then we wait to see what people say. So it did sort of feel a bit like an opening night, and you do get the reviews sort of, you know, that right after it's released, and then the word of mouth and what people feel. I still don't know how it works because people are still coming up to us and still watching it for the first time, or if they binged it in the first weekend, quoting it. And you know, the Pinot Noir thing is awesome and crazy. I was at actually a Broadway show, and at intermission, somebody brought me a glass of Pinot Noir for free. And I was like, this is great.
This is awesome.
I wasn't even in that episode. And I wrote them, and I goes, guys, I just got like free Pinot Noir today, and I wasn't even in this episode, so you guys must just be drunk. You're drunk the whole time, right?
Yes.
So it's amazing to, you do feel it. You do sort of feel how they keep it going.
Well, speaking of that, you don't have too much interaction with some of the outlier. Like you finally had the scene with Lillian at the end, and I wish you had more with Titus. You're mostly like with Ellie. Like, what is that like coming from 30 Rock, where you were sort of interacting with a lot of people, and also just the pace of it? It's not like so Whiplash as 30 Rock.
Right.
Like you can sort of go through the motions a little more. Talk a little bit about that.
Sure. Yeah. Initially, the scripts were very written where we were in our separate, Ellie was our connection, but she had very separate storylines with everybody. So I didn't know if I would even go over there. I knew I wanted Jacqueline to go over there because, you know, it's just humorous to see somebody go to that, that other, a one percenter sort of go to the very opposite extreme. And I didn't know what they would write for that. And then, yes, Titus came to the party, and we only met in passing by burying a robot. And then, of course, when I never thought I'd get to meet, I didn't know how I would possibly meet Lillian, but that was one of my favorite episodes to shoot, and I loved our thing. I loved our chemistry. I hate to talk about your own chemistry with another actor, but like I admire her so much, and so it was a great joy to me to act with her and to be trapped in a car with her, and the timing of her and just her.
Thelma and Louise.
It was so much. When I read that, I just went up to Robert Carlock and I was like, thank you so much. I love this. And we had a great time filming it. And but now that we have all met, I'm hoping there is much more of us.
Well, tell us what scripts 1 and script 2 said.
You are good.
Are there any scenes?
I am not allowed to. I think I've disclosed enough for this interview. Suddenly Jacqueline or Jackie Lynn is no longer on the program.
Will we see more flashbacks? Can you say that much?
I think I've spoken too
Oh my gosh.
much.
So close.
So close.
So close.
But in regards to the pace, which is very interesting, because I do feel when I first met with Tina and Robert, they were like, so it's going to be a different pace of 30 Rock, and it's going to be, you know, we're going to all talk a bit slower, because if you watch the progression of 30 Rock, is season 1, we talk so much slower. There was like 2 storylines.
Right.
It ultimately grew to 3 storylines in every episode, and I always remembered when we were filming 30 Rock that when we'd come back from our hiatus break, we were always like 9 minutes over in episodes because we were all talking so slowly after having time off. And we sort of there was a 30 Rock pace that we had to get used to and get back into and learn. And now, I guess, without the 22-minute time restriction of a network program with commercial breaks, perhaps we'll
sit back and relax.
Perhaps we can talk slower, or maybe we'll just have more pages to spit out faster.
Well, and once it was completed, like, how did you sort of view the show? Did you go binge crazy, or did you watch one at a time, or how did you?
Oh, when the show came out, one of a tradition that Tina has done since 30 Rock Days and through Kimmy is every Thursday we would watch whatever the completed episode was at lunch with the entire cast and crew.
Oh, nice.
Which was lovely if you are someone who wants to do that. Some people, you know, I'm sure some actors don't want to. I'm there with the popcorn front row. Kidding, because I'm nothing like my characters. But it's a great joy to sort of share with all the creative teams and the cast and crew for everybody to see the finished product and the work. And certainly when it's 24 episodes aired over a very long time, that was the main way we would see it. With this, we did them as they were edited, so before the 13 were filmed, we did get to see all of them, maybe except the final one together. So I saw them then, but they were different because once we went to Netflix, we were given a few more minutes. So things, jokes, moments, topics that were not suitable for network television got tweaked or put back in. So I haven't really actually gone back and seen all of the new moments since it's been on.
From what you had seen, what's your favorite sort of Jacqueline scene or interaction or moment?
Oh my gosh. It's so that I have so many for so many other characters. I feel like I think my favorite moments are the flashbacks, just because, as I say, it's something I wouldn't get to do anywhere else, and I loved sort of her true sort of connection and sadness to her parents. That whole buddy, like through tears, it still touches me today. And so I loved all of that. It's funny because Titus and I talk a lot about some of the moments that are our favorite moments versus the ones people talk about the most. Most people talk about sort of the throwing away the water and or they do it to you in real life. Which is not good for the environment.
No.
But and like, you know, as he said, people sing Pinot Noir to him, or but like one of my favorite moments with Titus is when he's watching the trial at the library on the computer, because I was not there for that, and when I watched it, I could not stop laughing, like every time they cut back to him, and I'm like, as an actor, I think, okay, no, he's not watching anything, he's nailing this, he's being hilarious.
Facial expressions are on point. Yes,
so good. Yeah, so, and of course the road trip with Lillian was one of my favorites too. And I don't actually know where our story continues yet in season 2, but I do hope that we reconnect, and I do hope I get more moments with Titus as well. I hope now that now that I'm not Mrs. Voorhees anymore, there's a lot more opportunity for me to go into their worlds as well.
Well, and we saw that you guys do play well together, because as we saw earlier, as I mentioned, there's the TCA, which just wrapped, and it's where networks and now streaming services present their, you know, crop of shows for the upcoming season. And Netflix was the first day, kicked things off, and had the most panels of anyone there with 11, which is just insane to show you how much it's grown. And after your panel, I think like on the way home or what happened?
I didn't know where you were bringing this.
A video went viral of you, Tina, and Titus singing Beyonce, Flawless. And it's amazing.
Okay, hashtag Jet Life. That was so crazy awesome. Thank you, Netflix, for flying us all back and forth on this private jet, which is the way to do it. It was so much fun. A trip has never gone faster from New York to Los Angeles. None of, you know, we all were laughing, and nobody, like, I didn't know, are we all just going to go to like our separate seats and read on our computer? I didn't know what was going to happen, because we had never done that before. It ended up where some of us were sitting on the floor, because you can. They were like, Robert Carlin was like, Jane, you want to sit here? I was like, no, I actually want to sit on the floor because we're allowed. It's so cool.
So what, Titus is like, guys, we got to sing Beyonce? How does that happen?
That was actually on the way home, and we were having a great time. We were all just like laughing and sort of playing around. And Tina started putting on her favorite jams, and like knows every word. She runs the world. Like, how does she run the world, Tina Fey, and know lyrics from like old school hip hop to every song of Beyonce's latest release? And she does. And I never knew. I worked with her for a very long time, and I never knew this secret talent of Tina Fey. So Titus and I, she was playing these songs, and we were like looking at her like,
how do you know
wait,
this?
You know every word to. It was amazing. Queen Latifah, Missy Elliott, all the classics. And then she puts on Beyonce's, and she starts sort of dancing around, and Titus was like, I don't know how Flawless came up, because I kind of feel like Titus said to me, I think the song Flawless came up, and I don't mean this as my own backdoor brag, but Titus said to me, when I hear this song, I think of you. I woke up like this. I was like, what does that mean? Do I show up in full hair and makeup like everywhere, or what's the deal? And so he goes, let's do something. And then suddenly Tina goes, oh, I'll be in it. And I thought it was just like for us to, I don't know, show our grandkids. I didn't know he was going to post it anywhere. And
Well, and you wouldn't know because you're not on Instagram.
I'm not any of that sort of
Yes,
stuff,
yeah.
nor is Tina really.
Yeah.
And so I really just thought we would like maybe play it in the rap reel or something. I didn't know what it was going to do, or just laugh amongst ourselves. And it was literally, we did one take, like that was it. Like it was so fun. We ended up singing that song for hours longer, but. The next day I wake up, I'm like, wait a minute, how do people know this? I didn't actually really know the song.
2015.
Times
Gotta
have
be
changed.
careful.
It was good.
Gotta be careful.
Hashtag good times.
Hashtag good times.
Hashtag good times.
What's the hashtag for this chat? We should come up with
Oh, yeah.
that. I don't know.
Great times. Thanks, you
Thanks.
guys. Why am I looking out to people? There's no studio audience,
Now
everybody.
we can do flawless again. We could just
You want
try
it?
to. I
You
don't
want
know
it?
the song. Sorry. I'll let you do it.
No,
Hey, I
I'm
woke
not
up
going
like
to do it
this.
with my friends.
I won't top Titus. That's the problem. He's untoppable.
Yes, unbreakable,
He's
untoppable.
untoppable. Anyway, Jane. Well, we look forward to your.
Wait, you cannot let Sarah Paulson go out singing on one of these, and we're not singing.
You have to sing.
What do we got? We got nothing. I got nothing.
We have to. There's something. Sing the theme song.
What night is it? It's Friday night. And I ain't got nobody. Anybody want
That
to come
works.
over?
That works.
I'm streaming right now.
I'm streaming. Yes.
Okay, we'll do a cut up dance remix of all of our great quotes together.
We'll do that.
And it will go nowhere. Thank you, everybody.
We
Good
should
night.
get Jeff on this. Maybe Jeff can remix.
Can we just? I mean, I know this is over, but can we briefly just talk about the genius of Jeff Richmond?
He's so good.
This theme song. Who's written a theme song in the last few years that people
in my
can hum and
head.
sing, and it's so amazing.
It's really good.
And I was lucky enough to have the great pleasure of those muffin top sort of moments with 30 Rock, and now to see like Titus go viral.
Yeah, it's really awesome.
People my age don't go viral. We need a prescription for that.
I feel like the Emmys should somehow incorporate Pinot Noir into whatever opening number they have, or you should just sing it on the red carpet.
Pinot Noir.
That's the note that I have so much trouble with. So you hit it
I falsed it.
perfectly.
I falsettoed it.
Yes. Well, we wish you much luck on the big day.
Oh, you're so sweet. It's such a
Thanks.
pleasure to meet. Thank you
Pleasure
for
to
having
meet
me.
you. Thanks for joining us. And for all you out there, thanks for tuning in. If
Goodbye,
you wanna,
career.
if
Bye,
you wanna,
LA.
If you want to see more of our chats, head over to latimes.com. Thanks.